you said you started this NEMRA 2019. I last attended in 2011. I was sponsored by my university to go to Cape Town, Stellenbosch, for multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary co-supervision of PhDs. I have an award in that regard, 2011. And I've been sitting on it. I didn't know such an organization. If you are recruiting members, I want to register to be a member. Because I've been sitting on my own potential. I went for the summer school and was trained how to handle multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary co-supervision of PhDs. I have that award. Good enough, I was at Stellenbosch University where I did my PhD. The only black student at that time post-apartheid. I was the only black at Stellenbosch University. And whenever I would stand, there was that problem. What can a black do? And I made it, and I put an impact at Stellenbosch University as a scholar. And my works, including genetic modified organisms, are published at the Science Hub in US journals. You can click my names, you'll get them. Molecular science and biotechnology. Now, I think I've talked too much about myself, and but what I want to say is that such a networks is the way to go. I'm glad you have formed a network. From the research angle where I come from, I always work with teams. No one can win it alone these days. I'm glad there are about 4 countries here. This is international. I was told by managing director that there somebody from Nigeria, from Zambia, and from where? Nigeria. Those are countries I've visited. I've been at the University of Legon in Ghana, in Abuja for Biotechnology Institute for a week. UK, I have been in UK for more than 2 weeks, and Zambia. As I said, I've visited 30 countries in Africa. In Europe, about 70 countries so far I've reached. And I'm glad these countries are here. And the best way of this network is now to start winning projects multidisciplinarily. I spend more time in the lab than in the pub. I like the pub, but spend less time in the pub, spend less time in the church, because God helps those who work. Instead of waking up in the middle of the night, start praying, how do I get money tomorrow? Think, how do I collaborate in research to make money tomorrow? I thank you so much for listening to me.
Blessed are the brief, for they shall be invited back. I know that I've not been brief with you on this training, but I've tried to squeeze as much as I can in all the time that we've had available together, because that's my passion, is to develop other people, to see them succeed. And it's been a joy to be with you, NEMRA, since Monday. Thank you very much to Mr. Patrick for hosting me since I arrived on Thursday. He's done such a fantastic job, allowed me to release me at the weekend. I had some old friends to visit. I've been coming to Uganda since 1997, so some of them I've known from far. So yes, you've received me so well. I've really enjoyed my time with you, and it was also organized at short notice. I didn't get that many messages. You know, NEMRA is a very well organized, oiled machine, but sometimes the guest doesn't get to hear till almost the last minute. Yes, we've organized everything. I think, what? I wasn't sure if we'd have any lunch. I'd just turn up and, you know, like that. But it's to see the PA, the number of people, the signage, everything, it was just so fantastic. And the technology worked very well. Running these hybrid sessions is a bit complex, but we managed to do it together. So I'm very thankful for that. And it was Dr. Lois who I've not met since she came to the UK, but I'm hoping to, she recommended the subjects that I taught this time. So you can blame her if you didn't find they were relevant, but I believe they were. And it's just been tremendous to be with you. I look forward to coming again.
Friends, please have the right friends. The journey, you lose some, win some. It's part of it. Don't be sad if you lose a friend, especially if you're trying to do the right thing. It is our duty to build our relationship with our supervisors. The work relationship. I learned that supervisors, you know, it's very easy to be back and forth. Supervisors have a problem, but I kept on asking myself, what's my contribution? And my contribution to that journey is, when someone reads your work, don't take back the work with the same errors. If it were me, I would be pissed. Okay, someone took time to read this amount of work, okay, gave you very constructive feedback, and then you take it back without any reflection on what they said. So what I used to do for my supervisors, and I think it helped, is that for every comment, I would account for it how I have dealt with it. Okay? And then where I didn't agree, I would write text and ask that we talk about it so that we can agree. So this person actually enjoys the dialogue, other than having you bring back the same book and they really recall they told you to change something, you didn't do any extra reading. So supervisors can't do this for us. So I know that supervisors who are really mean and everything, but let's first do our part. I'm convinced I did my part, and I would get Dr. Kafreka minimum 2 days. And when I say minimum 2 days, I mean either WhatsApp text, say I have received, I will review, and then the review comes maybe in 2-3 weeks. And that helps me move quite fast. So building that relationship, communication, and say, my daughter is sick, we had agreed to this timeline, I'm not able to do it. Be that student who is in front of your supervisor productively. Then they also start to get convinced that you actually deserve attention, the time, and the support. Okay? And then gradually we shifted from him leading to me leading, because actually that is what the journey is supposed to be like. In the beginning, you're being guided, but because you're becoming more fluent and comfortable with your area, then you start to lead, and they must see that leadership in terms of your skills of leading, but intellectually. Okay, so they can listen and they actually see like a flower growing.
First of all, I'm an assistant lecturer in the Department of European and Oriental Languages. I do lecture in French. So my PhD, I was working on languages, losses and translation, losses and gains in translation. Working on African languages, specifically I was working on Nyankole Ruchiga, translating into French, trying to see when someone is translating, when someone is interpreting, a translator, you who does not understand the other language, what are some of the things these people leave out, or what are some of the things they try to add in, and they leave you confused. So that's what I was trying to analyze, and some of the study results show that when you're translating from our local languages, African languages, into European languages, you realize that most of the challenges are cultural challenges, where we have different aspects in our African context that do not exist in the European culture. I'll just give an example. I always give an example, given that I was working in Nyankole Ruchiga, different types of baskets. If you know the African culture, you have the B-boy, then you have the Temele, you have the different culture. But when you translate, whether in English, they'll call everything baskets. Or in French, they just say panier. So those are some of the things I analyzed. So coming back to how I joined NEMRA, like I said, I enrolled in 2018. So throughout 2019, you see with the social media, I would get the adverts for the monthly meetings By then, I think they were still at Bugema University. And I didn't know how to get in. So time came as you interact with people. Dr. Nicholas Tunanuch is not here, so he referred me. So I said, how do I go about it? I paid my subscription, annual subscription, and I started attending different sessions of NEMRA. But the most one that changed my whole PhD journey was the workshop we had at Mutesa Royal. Some of the members here attended, Rugendo. You were there, Kaya, has she gone? She was there, JB was there, and we had different facilitators, including Dr. Peter Samuels. The main facilitator was, I remember, Dr. Sandrine. It was purely online. The facilitators were all online, but we were there physically. So the different facilitators, some of the tips I will share about that I got to know and made me a hardliner with this PhD was accepting criticism, so that when you get this feedback, you don't look at it as negative, but something to build you. So that one I learned. Then Dr. Edgar was also one of the facilitators. I learned that you have to, much as on the PhD, also have to make sure, like my career, you have to make sure that you have 2 publications by the time you graduate. So I learned that I also have to work along with the publications. And we also talked about so many issues, working with your supervisor. And that one worked very well for me. The supervisor is very instrumental, and my supervisor ended up becoming my friend. And I also influenced her to join NEMRA. She's an active member of NEMRA. So we worked together, Professor Edith Natkunda Togboa. So those are some of the tips I got from NEMRA.
Taste is bitter.